Now up on the stage at our 2020 Media Day is Pleasant Valley High School. Pleasant Valley competes in D3A Region 5. The region opponents are Glencoe, Hopes Bluff, Ohatchee, Piedmont, Sachs, Weaver, and Weldon. Their head coach is Jonathan Nix. So Coach Nix, we will start with your opening comments, sir.
I just appreciate y'all doing this event. Excited to start next week. It's hard to imagine not having football in the fall. And just the camaraderie that you get with kids. I know that these two are so excited as they will bring Caleb Ramsey, starting inside linebacker last year, and then Justin Winningham, who plays tight end and strong safety. And so us as coaches, when we picked who was going to come, these two guys right here really went out of their way to make sure that they're at each workout that we've had this summer. I don't think either one of them's missed a workout. Also, it's the little things that you recognize sometimes that you don't even see what's going on until maybe a couple of weeks into it. But we basically set up some cones, and so when the kids would come through for their workouts, we would scan them in their car, and that way that they're not even out of their car yet or anything like that. And so our workout started at 7 a.m. We didn't start scanning until 6:40. So Caleb would get ticked if somebody was the first one at the cone to get scanned in. So he started getting there about 6:15 to wait to be the first kid to get scanned in. And so some of the kids would, hey, who's going to try to beat Caleb there today to try to get in there? And so it's just the accountability of being there and the teammates recognizing that. To me, that goes a long way as a coach, that it matters for the kids to compete at everything they do. So, we appreciate y'all for having this event. I love these events like this because you get to brag on your kids, you get to brag on your community, and you get to brag on football.
Question, Coach.
Jonathan, kind of what's your reaction to what the HSA announced yesterday, and then too, just the new guidelines they put out? Just what do you see there from a practical standpoint and how that all works out?
We had a coaches meeting 2 days before they put the guidelines out, and just tried to go through every scenario that we could go through to make this practice as efficient and following guidelines as best that we can. And so we were kind of prepared with it, but I like what they put out, and and it's something that we're trying to teach all of our kids, coaches, and it's something that I'm daily having to learn. A lot of times the stuff that's coming out, we really have no control over controlling what's coming out. The only thing we got control over is how we're going to react to it. Are we going to let whatever the problem is bother us all day, affect everybody around us? Or we're going to find, what's the positive in this situation? The positive is, come Monday, that us coaches get to be around players, and those players get to try to impact us. In return, we get to impact them. And to me, that's what it's all about.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about your region this year moving forward, about what you expect to see in the region?
Well, the region is still tough, I can tell you that. Ohatchee's coming in, and Hopes Bluff's coming in. You lose Randolph County, you lose B.B. Comer, but the two that Ohatchee was already on our schedule. That's the second oldest rivalry in Pleasant Valley. I think them and White Plains are both tied. So with us having White Plains back on the schedule, that's good for it's good for the county, it's good for the two communities, and having them and Ohatchee on there, it's that's what everybody loves about high school football, is those teams that you've always played. But there's no off weeks in our region. Our region is what it is. We've been so close, but this is not horseshoes. You don't get points for leaners or anything like that. So you just got to go back and figure out what can you do different. Each year the teams worked harder and harder. Each year the kids have grown tougher and tougher. Our injuries have went down, and that's the key thing in this region is trying to be injury free. Sometimes you can't help it. It's not that a kid doesn't work hard sometimes with injuries, but most of the time, in the past, our injuries came with kids that, hey, they didn't work out during school. They didn't come to summer workouts. I think we've had 5 injuries in the last 2 years where kids missed a game, 5 or 6. My first year we had like 18 kids miss at least a half of a game. So, and I think that goes directly back to these kids for believing in the weight room. The other coaches at other sports push them in the weight room. Administration push them in the weight room to understand that in today's world, if you're gonna play a contact sport, you better be in the weight room.
This question I have is for both players. What transpired through last season to make you want to come back your senior year after we lost everything we did in the spring? What did you find in yourself to make you want to drive and come out and finish your senior year the right way?
The love for the team. It's just, we're always together, so why not finish off together?
Yeah, as Justin said, the love for the team. I mean, it's my senior year. We really wanted to play football and everything else.
To Caleb and Justin, obviously last year there was a lot of talk about, getting over that playoff hurdle, came up 1 game short. How much is that still a motivating factor for you guys?
Well, that game against BB Comer was terrible. I mean, our whole team was devastated because we couldn't go to the playoffs that year. This year we'll make sure we'll get that job done and see what we have in store for this year.
It's motivation. It's gonna push us to do it the way we want.
I'll say this, like each year, they've been a game away. I think the last 3 years, there's been tiebreaker scenarios where it will put us in for 1 more game, just 1 more win. And so each senior class that's come through has let that be their motivating factor of how can we push a little bit harder. But it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to line up in the car line at 6:20 in the morning. So there's a lot of us that'll say stuff sometimes, but I'm wanting to see this senior group get kids to lead by action. Without action, it's just talk. And so we've had, a lot of kids doing extra. And this year's been tough because they're having to do a lot of this on their own. Before, you're getting, I miss the daily, I'm in the weight room. There's close to 200 athletes, 7 through 12 boys and girls that run through the weight room each day at Pleasant Valley. I'm the face that they see coming into the weight room. I miss that. There's days that they don't feel like working out, that you get to motivate them to get the task done no matter what sport they play. And so that's something that COVID's kind of taken away from you. So every time that you're around them, you're trying to say, all right, now you've got to do some of this stuff on your own. So the only way I can check up on you is to send a text or something like that. And so it's really forced kids to be leaders on their own, which I think we'd all agree in today's society, kids that can think on their own feet in a positive manner is what we need more than anything.
Question.
Lost a lot of key seniors from last year. Just who steps into those roles for you?
There's certain, it's always tough, any senior that you lose, and I know we had a lot of key seniors, but we got a lot of juniors that helped those key seniors last year. So I think that's going to be the fun part next week, to see how many of these kids have grown up and are ready for a little more responsibility. And we've got some kids that I feel like is going to be open to that challenge and to step in some of these roles. But not taking anything away from our seniors that just graduated, because they laid a huge foundation down. for the team. I mean, I had a parent tell me the other day that, hey, do you realize that it's only the third time in school history that they've been 2 years without a losing season? So those seniors had a part in that, just like these guys right here had a part in that. And so to me, it's about what can you pass on to the next group to make sure, all right, here's the standard. Not only is this a standard, but how can we make the standard a little higher each year? And so I think that's what each year, each class has tried to do that, try to make the standard higher. That, I mean, we're not happy with 5-5. I mean, if I get happy with 5-5, I'd soon turn my whistle in. So we've got to keep building from that.
This is a question for Justin and Caleb. Knowing that your coach picked you two today, out of everybody on the team to come to this prestigious event, what does that tell you about the trust he has in you, and also how does that make you want to lead when you're off the field at home or out on a Friday night or in the classroom?
Just an honor. It's crazy to think that he picked us two out of everyone, and it just we're gonna put in the work and lead.
Yeah, it's an honor as for Coach Nix to pick me and Justin for this, because me and Justin got to fill a big role. The seniors left last year, and as Coach Nix said, they laid down a big foundation, and they helped me and Justin become the leaders we are today. Me getting there at 6:20 in the morning was just because the seniors last year, they told me, if you want it, just go get it. Me and Justin are up there almost every day, early as can be.
Caleb, as a senior linebacker this year, what kind of goals do you set for yourself on a weekly or a game basis? Do you try to have so many tackles a game or anything, and then if you hit that, you feel like you've done it? What kind of goals do you set? And then I'll ask Justin the same thing.
To be honest with you, it's an easy thing to say. My goal is to win every single game. Win. That's what I want to do. I don't worry about the tackles or anything. I just want us as a family and us as a team to win. Get the job done.
That's exactly how I feel. We just need to win, and that's our one goal.
Any other questions? Yes.
This is for Coach Nix. Coach, I asked Coach Etheridge earlier when we watched Coach Savarese yesterday, it seemed like if we get to a point to where there's games that are going to be forfeited, that the AHSAA has kind of left the door open for them to possibly even step in and seed the playoffs or something along those lines. Do you have any clarity on that at this point?
I do not. It just seemed like to me, listening to it, that you better take each day as an opportunity to be around your kids and play football, because none of us knows what tomorrow holds. Guidelines and regulations change by the minute. It's almost like buying a new laptop at Best Buy. A month later, the laptop you bought's obsolete. So we just gotta keep checking, and every day that you get to be around these kids, just treat it like it's the last. And I think that's a good way for all of us to try to push each day, because you can worry and you can sit here and make plan after plan, but your plan very well could change at the drop of a hat.
Talk about your non-region opponents this year that we may not be familiar with. We know what kind of region you play in, and then after that we'll have some final statements from all three of you.
All right, our three non-region this year is Donahoe and West End and White Plains. White Plains we haven't been able to match up with lately, but that's at the end of the season. Both of us talked about in the future trying to move that game to earlier in the season. And then Donahoe's a new one. It just happened to be that the week 0, a couple of years we were able to play 5 games and have that break at week 5, and I really feel like that helped us because the region is so brutal. So it's a little more important to do, instead of doing a fall jamboree. We've always done a fall jamboree with Hoax Bluff in the past. We played a quarter of junior high, a quarter of JV, and a quarter of varsity. And me and Coach Rob both were just, if the kids get in there and get 2 series apiece, that's fine. Because the last thing you want to do is get a kid injured in a fall jamboree in a game that really doesn't matter. But it does matter to the kids, because you're putting the helmet on, you're putting a mouthpiece in, and every time they do that, it should matter. So I'm kinda excited that we're going 5 straight games, and then you've got that week if you need recovery, to kinda freshen up. And it helped us then, because that week we really worked like it was the first week of football, and did a lot of fundamentals and things like that. So that kinda helped us on that. And then we kept West End on the schedule as a non-region, so that's our 3 non-regions.
Let's close it out. We'll ask the players first to just kind of tell us what you're expecting for this year and any final thoughts you may have.
I'm really expecting us to be good this year. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it or anything. Whatever happens, happens.
It's a big adversity to have to go through, and we'll just see how we come out.
Coach Nix, your final comments.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank y'all for making this event possible for these kids. I appreciate the leadership on some of the questions you asked these kids, for these kids to think about. For each kid that comes today to think about, why did your coach choose you? I mean, that was a good question for them to take home. How can you let that impact the rest of your team? But we appreciate y'all doing this. It's a great event, and I know it's going to carry on. So thank y'all and for supporting us and bringing us here.
Thank you. Good luck.